Sawubona, South Africa. How are you, Doug? Good day. Welcome once again to Indaba Africa. This is Chris. I'll talk to you today about a topic that ought to get a lot of people pretty jazzed up and angry about what's happening in South Africa. So today's topic is Dudu Myeni. Born October 1963, known as Dudu Myeni. She is executive chairperson of the J.G. Zuma Foundation, and she's held the position since September 2008. Remember that name? Of course, we all know who that is, Jacob Zuma. And the reason she's the chairperson of that, the executive chairperson of that organization, is because she's a close personal friend of Jacob Zuma, which might account for why she held very important positions with South African Airways over the course of more than a decade. Let's talk about that, or close to a decade. She was appointed to the South African Airways board in September 2009, and she held that position until October 2017. Now, her qualifications for becoming a director for South African Airways included a teacher's certificate from Madadeni College and another from Umlazi College. She also founded a consulting firm known as Skills Dynamics back in 1999. She claimed a bachelorette degree, but that degree was not true as she was still studying for the degree, and that was removed from the SAA website, which fraudulently listed her as having a bachelor's degree early in her tenure as a board member. She later served as the acting chairwoman of South African Airways and the chairperson of South African Airways from January 2015 until October 2017. However, two organizations brought a case against her in March of 2017. Remember that date, ladies and gentlemen, March 2017. That's over 3 years ago. In March of 2017, the organization Undoing Tax Abuse, or UTA, and the South African Airways Pilots Association filed a case against her for her tenure as a director of the South African Airways board. Now, the case was overseen by Judge Ronel Tome, and yesterday she issued a decision in this case 3 years after it came about. She has declared that Dudu Myeni is a delinquent director for the remainder of Miss Myeni's lifetime. Now, that is quite a damaging statement, and there is a shocking, well, not so shocking article for those who pay attention to state capture, corruption, nepotism, and just the pervasive abuse of the state for personal privilege and patronage, which is clearly the case here, and those who pilfer from the state. So not shocking for a lot of South Africans, but I'm going to read some comments from the case that appear in the Daily Maverick today in an article by Marianne Tem. So let me focus on a few of those things. So this case was brought, as I mentioned, by UTA and the South African Airways Pilots Association. And this is in terms of Section 162, subsection 5 of the Companies Act 71 of 2008. Now, this former director of SA, Dudu Myeni, was also a member of the Accounting Authority of South African Airways, and she served as a non-executive director for Air Chefs, a subsidiary of South African Airways, from September 2009 until March 2013, and again from May 2015 to September 2016. Judge Tome, rendering her decision in the court case, said Ms. Myeni is not a fit and proper person to be appointed as a director of any company, let alone a board member of a state-owned enterprise. Now, that's a shocking statement, ladies and gentlemen, to hear quite scathing comments from the judge. The judge also said that it was appropriate for the court to take judicial notice of the immense harm that was done to the country and its people in the last years due to the mismanagement not only of South African Airways, but also other state-owned enterprises and the suffering that it brought and continues to bring to millions of South Africans. Tome also said that Myeni was director gone rogue. She did not have the slightest consideration for her fiduciary duty to South African Airways. She was not a credible witness in the trial. And she changed her version, contradicted herself, blamed others, and played the victim. Her actions do not constitute mere negligence, but were reckless and willful. Ouch. Scathing. Don't get too excited, though. I'm not making any claims anything significant will come out of this, but these are scathing words from a judge in a verdict. The judge said that Ms. Myeni was also dishonest when she pled poverty, saying that she failed to disclose that she had earned over 4.3 million rand in director's remuneration during her time at South African Airways, an additional 3.45 million for her time as director of the Mlatuzi Water Board. That's a total of nearly 8 million rand, ladies and gentlemen. Now, she also failed to disclose that she remains an active director of at least 4 companies. Can you believe this? She's not fit to be director of anything. and she remains director of 4 different companies. Now, how does that happen to someone with 2 teaching certificates, no business acumen, no business experience? Now, if we allow for the fact that it's possible for someone to have the talent despite not having the pedigree, which is possible, what happened at SA? Well, not exactly a sterling performance by the board or the company itself. South African Airways is in bankruptcy right now, or business rescue as they call it in South Africa, but effectively bankruptcy, liquidation, or at least reorganization of the company as they try to spin it back out of its debt. Yeah, so if she presided over the rise of South African Airways instead of demise, then perhaps we wouldn't be questioning her CV and her credentials, which obviously are quite lacking. Well, she was active director of at least 4 companies, including her ongoing role as deputy chairperson of Sentlec, a Free State parastatal, which paid her at least 274,634 Rand in director's fees in 2018 alone, ladies and gentlemen, when the average South African makes just pennies on the dollar for their labor in South Africa. As a director, she made nearly 300,000 Rand in 2018 alone, after she'd already been telling the court she had no money. She also concealed from the court that she owned property in Richards Bay worth at least 4.2 million Rand. Well, there you go. Now we know what she did with some of the money she had. When confronted with this evidence in cross-examination, Ms. Myeni made no attempt to deny it. There you go. The judge also said there existed a reasonable possibility that something sinister was going on behind the scenes, and that this constituted sufficient grounds for the National Prosecuting Authority to investigate the circumstances of the Emirates deal as well as the Airbus swap transaction, 2 major events that took place in the last decade with South African Airways that fell apart. Now, the investigation indicated that this should include other board members who were implicated. Yeah, well, interesting enough, it's not as if she acted in a vacuum and didn't know what was going on. The former finance minister, Nene, had warned Myeni that the board was not executing its fiduciary responsibility in writing, but that disclosure made no impression upon her, according to the judge. Yes, well, The judge further said that the evidence presented did not reveal one single legitimate reason why Ms. Myeni frustrated and ultimately caused the demise of the lucrative Emirates deal, which, if it could not have saved SAA, could have at least strengthened its financial position considerably. One cannot but suspect that there were some other forces at play behind the scenes, but not for the court to venture into the realm of speculation. While many others have ventured into the realm of speculation when it comes to Dudu Myeni and what was happening there, and purported claims that as many as 300,000 Rand per month were funneled through her to Jacob Zuma. The court was unwilling to speculate on that. I won't either. I'll just point out that it has been reported in various sources over the past few years. So, this is finally what the judge said in the end. And not only is she deliberately or through gross negligence inflict substantial harm on South African Airways, but her belated attempts to justify her conduct show that she acted dishonestly, in bad faith, and not in the best interests of South African Airways and the country. Well, if the argument is that we should have state-owned enterprise in South Africa for the interest and benefit of the country, how can you appoint people like this that don't operate in the interest and do it for such a long period of time? It wasn't like she came on the scene, was a bad director, was there for a year, and departed. She spent a decade at South African Airways running it into the ground. Myeni was also directed to pay the cost of the action on an attorney and client scale, including the cost of the 3 counsel. Well, that's nice of the court to order her to pay court costs, but what about some prison time here? What about some recompense? What about the billions of Rand that were squandered by South African Airways? What's the comment there? What will happen from that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I bring this story to you, which appeared in the Daily Maverick and other locations in today's news from South Africa today, Thursday, May 28th of 2020. But I don't bring it with the hope that much will come out of it. We all seen the Zondo Commission endlessly investigating and no one suffering consequences of their actions. We've seen state capture, Nkandla Oil Gate, the arms scandal, Travelgate, one scandal after another under the 26-year reign of the African National Congress, which has gone from petty corruption back in the days of Tony Yangeni getting a discounted loan to pervasive wholesale pilfering of the state by the African National Congress and its cadres. Well, I don't think much will come out of this, but at least more corruption has been exposed to the daylight. The cockroaches can run, and they cannot hide. Well, this has been a production of the Indaba Africa Group, folks, where you can listen to civil discourse and coaching conversation. I thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe to the channel by smashing that subscription button. Be sure to push the bell icon, toggle it to be notified of my updates and new videos and live streams. And also, I ask if you push that like button. Thank you for tuning in. Have a pleasant day, South Africa, and we'll catch you later.